got an episode of The Unknown Pro for you today. I'm your host, Sam Fisher, and today I have a very special guest, the one and only Monica Abbott. What's up, Mon?
How's it going, everyone? It's me.
It's me.
It's me.
What's up, Mon? How's quarantine treating you?
You know, quarantine life, I'm not gonna lie, there's some parts of quarantine life like I kind of like.
Oh, totally, right?
Yes, like I've become a better cook. Like I'm getting more stuff done. I'm working on my passion projects. I get outside every day, and then it's so fun to still be able to like Zoom and do all these FaceTimes and things like that, like with a lot of people that probably I would have talked to on a regular basis when I wasn't in quarantine.
That's so true. It's kind of upped the social life in a weird way, even though you're not.
Yes. I'd still rather meet with you in person for like lunch or something, but this is like a nice option, you know?
Yes, at least you still get some FaceTime, of course.
Yeah.
That's such a good way of looking at it, especially with the whole cooking thing. What is the best thing that you've cooked thus far?
Okay, I'm really into like doing like the stack thing where like there's a base, you know, kind of how you do like the ahi poke stack. So I kind of like modified that to like a black bean burger stack or like a chicken stack, and it has like a bed of veggies or noodles, and then kind of like different things layered up. And that's kind of my go-to right now.
Yeah, that sounds like fun, and you can do literally whatever you want with it.
Literally whatever. Like I put noodles as the base, I put rice, I put veggies, I put, you know, whatever you can think of.
Yeah. Have you done a dessert stack?
You know, I was about to say, like, I'm really proud of like how much cooking I've done during quarantine, but I'm definitely usually like a better baker. Like, I can bake, but cooking not so much. But I'm getting better. Yeah. But baking wise, like muffins, cakes, I make this great popcorn is my specialty, homemade. Cookies, of course. So like, yeah, I could totally bake. The only thing that's bad is that baking's not good for like the athlete body. So I gotta be careful.
You're like overloading on carbs every day.
Yeah, I'm like, sugar.
That's the life. Well, I'm glad that, you know, things are good. I do want to dive in and talk about the stuff that I have planned. But first, I have to let everyone know about some of your accomplishments. If that's cool, I'll take the floor and rock and roll, okay? So you graduated from Tennessee in 2007, and you were on Team USA from 2005 2010, and then again starting 2018 up to now. You were with the MPF Bandits for 5 seasons, 2011 to 2015, Scrapyard since 2016. 8-time All-MPF, 5-time MPF Pitcher of the Year. You won a silver gold, or I almost just said a silver gold medal. That's dumb. A silver medal in 2008, hoping for gold in the next one. There you go. That's why I confused myself.
That's right.
3 times you won gold at World Championships, which is very cool. 4-time MPF champion. You've played in the Japanese league for this year will be your 12th season with Team Toyota, which that's great. You were NCAA, your first all-time in strikeouts, wins, shutouts, and in college you threw 23 no-hitters and 6 perfect games, which, wow, those poor hitters, I tell you. I know. Also, I didn't mention, you were a 4-time All-American, right?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
How did I leave that one out? So just whatever, 4-time All-American. Anyway. Yeah. Whatever.
You got distracted by the strikeouts.
Yeah, right.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
It's an ungodly amount of strikeouts.
I know.
I only wish that I would have faced you to just add to that amount for you, you know, in college. But I do. In 2007, LMU played Tennessee, and I remember asking, "Oh my God, like, did you guys face Monica?" And our right fielder's like, "I tipped it. I touched it." So it was a big victory for LMU, But yeah, look, I mean, gosh, looking at your career, when you were young, did you have dreams or goals of wanting to do all of that? Or is it something that kind of happened along the way?
I think it's kind of a combination, and almost like, I hate it, like ignorance is bliss. Like you just don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Like I grew up watching the Giants and, watching baseball and watching the older kids in my rec league and thinking that like, oh, she throws the ball pretty hard, and I didn't know, like, I was like, I wish I could throw it hard like her. Softball wasn't on TV when I was a kid, really. So you just don't know what you don't know. So like, little me was thinking like, oh, if I could throw the ball hard like her, then like maybe I could play for the Giants, like little did I know that like, okay, Monica, like you're a girl, like right. You can't play baseball. Like there is, professionalism for softball is a different story. Like I didn't know. I just always thought, hey, I want to grow up and I want to play softball the rest of my life.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love it. And now here we are. And that's the
here I am.
You did.
That's trying to make it happen.
Did it come, obviously everybody who knows you and who has played with you or against you knows that you're one of the hardest workers in life, like in anything. So did that start from a young age because you just kind of wanted to play and you really enjoyed it? Where did the hard work start fitting in?
Yeah, for me, I feel like, everyone says like it's hard work, but for me, I feel like now, like in today's day and age, I feel like it's more like, it's just like my lifestyle. Like right. If you want to compete at a high level, if you want to be a professional in this game, like you got to be consistent in your effort and what your approach is. And it's not just, it's not just pitching these days.
Right.
Because of how our game is advanced. But I think for me, when it all kind of, like I wasn't very good at softball in the very beginning. I followed my sisters into playing. I was like the kid that was chasing foul balls to try to get candy. Like, like that was me. Like I was the kid like doing all the cheers. Like I was the cheerleader in the dugout. Like I wasn't really like into the game. And then it wasn't until I started pitching that I kind of found a home.
Wow.
On the softball field. And that's when I just kind of developed like, okay, I got to practice because you have to practice when you pitch,
Right.
Literally, like you can, otherwise you just suck. Like wasn't fun walking hitters. So, so I just kind of developed this practice routine with my mom and in the backyard after school. And I think that setting that routine as like a middle schooler, and that consistency of like, hey, coming home from school and, setting a timer for 30 minutes and like practicing in the backyard or with my mom if I could, that routine kind of carried over and created a really great habit that's I've taken my entire life.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think what you said was really cool because, it's called hard work, but at the end of the day, especially if you love what you're doing and if you love practicing and if it's not that hard to go out and do it. It's incredible.
Like everyone says that, but then when I think about it, I'm like, well, like I don't really want to do anything else, like who doesn't want to like wake up and play the game that they've been playing since they were 5, 10 years old? Who wouldn't want to like, hey, like let me see if I can make this ball like rise even higher than I think I can,
Right.
Like let me kind of get creative in those ways. And so for me, like personally, it hasn't really felt like, oh, it's hard work or it's difficult. It's been part of my life and it's definitely developed into my lifestyle and who I am as an athlete. And, the best part is when I get to do it with my team and we get to like go through the grind together.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And I'm sure, even we've only like barely played together a little bit, but even being on the field like against you and seeing your warm-up routine, what you do to get ready, all those things, it inspires me to then make sure that I'm sticking to my stuff and making sure that I'm getting the work in that I need to prepare to be at the highest level, so
yeah. Do you feel like that's harder to do like as a professional on the professional aspect sometimes?
Sometimes, yeah, especially because we don't, during the year when we're at home, we don't have all the same facilities as when we're in the season or anything. When you're in it, when like being in Japan or being at Scrapyard, when you have the facilities, that part's a lot easier to maintain all that. But when you're at home and you're like, oh gosh, if my dad can't hit me ground balls, I need to figure out a way to get the same work in or that kind of thing, So
yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I think just having access to certain levels of, I don't know, standards and coaches, and just also you're working with a lot of different professionals that come from a lot of different levels of college softball or different levels of professionalism. And I think it's kind of cool when you see how, like, someone from Loyola, someone from Tennessee, someone from Marshall, someone from, you know, Nebraska, or someone from UCLA, how each of the different athletes prepare on the professional level. And that's really cool to see how that evolves over the course of their career.
Oh yeah. And you know what? I think this all the time. Like, if I could be in college right now, I feel like I would have done so much better with what right? Like how
yes.
Like, man.
If only I had known what I know now.
Seriously, and how to take care of your body, what your body needs, you know, and wow, if only, right?
Yeah, I just think, like, information is so valuable, and like having someone do it, like, it's cool to be able to watch someone else. And that's what I think is really cool for the kids that are in high school now, the college kids, right, this age, and then the kids that are just coming out of college. Like, for the most part, like, softball's been on TV, there's been professional games being played in the United States, so they kind of have more information than, say, like, our generation had. They have a model of what something should look like.
That's so, oh my gosh, that's so true. I just remember, you know, watching the World Series when I could. I remember watching you in 2007 and it's just like, you just soak it up. And now there's so much more to soak up. It's so, like, they're so lucky.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like, it's incredible. Like, and it's just going to continue to grow. And that's really exciting. But I just love seeing that, because it, like, multiplies the growth of our sport and multiplies the level that we're able to play at.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think what's cool too that I've learned about you over the last few years is how much you're still open to learning. Like, you are constantly learning and wanting to grow as a player, but also with the sport. Because I can remember playing against each other like an inter squad at scrapyard, and after an at bat, you come up to me and say, "Hey, was that pitch in a good spot? What did you think of this pitch?" You know, where it's like, you've been doing this for how long and you still ask those questions. I think that that's so cool, because you can probably attest a lot of your growth to that. Would you say?
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely. I think I've obviously been surrounded by some really amazing coaches and some really amazing teammates. And I think the thing that I love about some of the teams that I've played on and the people that I've played with is just that open communication that we've been able to have. And in both, like, a fun way and a competitive way, but also in, like, a very, like, healthy way where we can challenge each other and be like, well, Mom, sorry, but, like, you know, like, if I was looking for that inside pitch, you know, I would have rocked it. But, you know,
yeah,
thank goodness you threw that, you know, this pitch instead of that one, because I was waiting for it.
Right.
You know, things like that. And having those healthy conversations has really helped, I think, all of us all of us in that little niche of professional softball players evolve and grow in this sport.
Oh yeah, especially because just when you think you know it all, you realize you don't.
Yeah, no. Something happens. So why is softball like that?
I know, it's so hard. Everyone, like, even talking to young girls, or if I give a lesson or do a camp, I'm like, this is the hardest thing that we could choose to do for ourselves.
I know.
It's so challenging. But I wanted to ask you the difference between when you played in 04, you were one of the younger players on the team, right?
Yeah, I started on the national team in 05. I wasn't part of the
right.
04
I meant in 08. Right. So 05 was your first year. In 08, were you one of the younger ones at the Olympics?
Yeah. I was actually the youngest player on the 2008 team.
There we go. Okay. I thought so. I didn't want to say that because I didn't want to be wrong.
No, I was the youngest, but don't worry. I was also the tallest.
Of course. So touching back on that experience of 2008, being the youngest and now being one of the oldest, how was it when you were the youngest, and then how is it now being that veteran?
Yeah, you know, when you're young, you're, you know, like, you just do. You just do it. You don't think about it. You just do it. Someone said, coach is like, hey, Monica, you know, you got to throw the ball 70 miles per hour. I'm like, yes, coach, I'll do it.
You got it.
Whatever you want, you know. But I think when I look about like the dynamic between like rookies and veterans and being, having a significant role in both of those at the high level now, I always think about how like rookies, I think rookies and the younger players on the team, they tend to push everyone forward, right? They tend to kind of challenge them and push the game forward, push the energy level forward. And I think the older generation teaches them how to be a professional, how to hold themselves accountable, standards to be expected, and then obviously just like wealth of knowledge from their experience. But when you meld that push from the younger generation and that experience from the older generation, it creates this really beautiful dynamic between the two. So
no, that's a really cool way to put it, because you can look at it in one of two ways where, you know, a rookie might be inexperienced, but it's not that. It's that it, you know, like you said, you say jump, okay, I'll say how high, you know, like let's do it. Just that willingness. And especially, you know, I think about, you know, I'm going to be 30, and I think about girls coming out of college at 21 and thinking, I got to make sure I'm on my game because these girls are coming out hot, you know, like in that push. But do you think you have a leg up now because of all the experience you have in going into the Olympics, as far as I know what it was like to be there, and now I've played all this time, now I'm almost more prepared for this Olympics? Or have you thought about that at all?
Not like in that aspect, but like definitely from going from 2008 to like this, and just being an older player, like I just feel like I'm so much smarter about the game of softball. And just knowing tendencies of people and knowing tendencies of myself and all of those sort of things. I feel like I'm a smarter, more well-rounded athlete than I was in 2008. And that goes in like all aspects, whether it's softball, whether it's training, you know, whether it's nutrition or mental game, or how much I need to practice, like all of those little things, or how I'm going to recover, things like that. I'm just so much smarter as an athlete. Whereas before, as a rookie and as a young person, I was needing to be told, like, Monica, no, you don't need to pitch today. Monica, like, you need to go run. Like, Monica, like, stop eating donuts, you know, stuff like that. Like, or it was like that awkward glance where you're eating the donut. You're like, you can tell they're like, you shouldn't be eating that. Like, why? I love it. But I think so in that aspect, don't you feel like as you've aged, like you're a smarter player?
Oh, yeah. It's almost like I feel like I've been able to relax a little bit. The more that I've played is, you know, I still, obviously the nerves are still there in different situations, but I feel like, I feel like the older that I've gotten and the more that I've played, I've been able to kind of bring myself in a little bit more and say, hey, you know, like, you got this. What are you worried about in this way? Or your body needs a rest today. That's something that's been hard for me to learn, is giving my body a rest. Cause I'm more like, I need to work out. I need to do this. I need to do that.
Yeah. I feel like that's been a challenge for me too at times.
Yeah.
Well, it's also, I'm just like, well, might as well do it. Like,
it's been hard to learn that rest does well for your body in the same way that a workout does. I still have a hard time wrapping my brain around that.
I think it's college athletics did that to us.
Yeah. Yeah. No days off.
Yeah. No days off. Day off is a travel day.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So that's it is interesting the way that it kind of develops. And I think I feel so lucky to have known all this, you know, when there's players that end their career when they're 23, 24, or right out of college, you know, never get to that point of learning all that.
Yeah, it makes me honestly, like, it kind of like breaks my, it kind of like breaks my heart a little bit. Like, it hurts my heart that like athletes don't, you know, they only play like maybe 2 or 3 years. If they get a professional opportunity and they only play 2 or 3 years, like it kind of hurts my heart because they never fully develop or understand what they can get from the game or what they're able to give back to the game, or even the athletes that maybe get drafted or have an opportunity to play and then they don't, like, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
Or like when people are like, I'm burned out. I'm just like, why? I know. This is the best game ever, guys. Like, what are you talking about? Burned out? Just take a couple weeks and then come back and play with us. Let's go.
That's so funny that you said that, because I had a conversation with my dad a couple months ago and I said, I can't relate to people when they say that they're burnt out. I don't know what to say if someone says that to me. I'm like, you want to play catch about it? Like, I don't know.
It's just like, yeah, sometimes when people are like, oh, I'm burned out, I'm like I get, like, maybe they're being pushed too hard, like maybe they need balance, like maybe that's what I always think, is they need balance outside of just softball,
right,
in their life. But I'm just like, gosh, I can't imagine, like, especially if you're like doing it by your choice, you know, like you get to play. Like, it's my choice. Like, I get to go outside and I get to play softball today. Like, I get to hit, I get to throw. I'm going to try to throw this ball really hard. I'm going to try to throw it really slow. Like, let's see what I can do today, guys. Was that cool?
Did I do it?
Did I do it? Hey, Sam, did I do it? Was that a good one?
You did it. I totally relate to that, because it is at this point, it is a choice. You know, we could go another way at any given point. We're not in school anymore, you know, but it is pretty heartbreaking. And that was actually the whole idea behind the name of this podcast, is The Unknown Pro, because
I love that.
Like, I wish that we weren't unknown in the professional sports world. I mean, some girls obviously have made it to where other people out of the softball world know their name, but like, it sucks that it's so unknown, because there's so many talented players that play for a few seasons or maybe even just one, and they can't continue, and it really sucks, you know. God.
Yeah, I was actually saying, okay, I'm gonna bring it real relevant right now. So is that okay?
Of course.
And just, you feel free to comment on this, but like, so you watched the Jordan documentary? I'm assuming like almost everyone in the world has watched it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I was just like watching it, and I was like, man, like, first off, his story, great job, ESPN. Like,
unbelievable.
Phenomenal. Yeah. And what a great time to put it out. Like, you inspired the whole world while we're in quarantine. But just like when I was at the very end and watching the last episode, like, I was both like happy and like, oh, what a great story. I'm so glad they did this, and how inspiring and motivating. But a small little piece of my heart was like kind of sad. Like, yeah. Because there's like, who in our sport right now, who in softball, like, can have a documentary done like that of them? Who in softball, like, is it Jenny? Is it Lisa? Is it Jessica Mendoza? Like, is it Natasha Watley? Is it Sam Fisher? Like, is it Monica Abbott? Is it Kat? Like, who has a documentary or that amount of footage and media presence that could like put a documentary out, like, 10 episodes 20 years later.
God, that's so true. Oh my God.
I'm just like, and how incredible that is, that he's obviously made such, Jordan's made such an impact on the sports world, across generations and across genders and across, the entire world. But just like who in softball could have that kind of story done about them?
Right. Because that's something where whenever there's a baseball, clip or a story on a player, and they talk about, here's what he did to get to this point, I think me and my friends, me and my teammates, we've all done that too. Mm-hmm. I remember not going to, the prom because I was training or I had games the next day. Those stories are obviously Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan, but still,
right.
You see so much where it's like, why is his story more exciting than ours? Because I honest to God feel like me and my teammates and friends that I know that I've played with had the same daily routine, had the same struggles, sacrifices, and work put into it. It's weird.
Yeah, you can see like similarities in things like from, he hit so many big shots, or like dumping the ball out to Paxson or to Kerr. Like, so many, unsung heroes in championship play on the softball field, kind of the same story. You can relate and see similarities in our game as an athlete. And so like there was this little piece of me that was like, man, like I want to watch this. I want to watch something like this of a softball player. Like I want to, 10 years from now, I want to see it of Sam Fisher. I want to see it of, Lisa or Finch or somebody, anybody. Like
a player, someone, because there's stories among all of us of how we got to a point that we're at, and it's worth saying. It's worth people knowing about.
Yeah, maybe it'll happen. We'll just like let's keep putting it into the atmosphere, like put it out there so that there's that enough footage, enough like media exposure, and the story is that incredible that it needs to be told.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll put out the good vibes because
we need the vibes.
The sports world deserves to know more about softball. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, we're getting there.
We are. I mean, we really are. You look at, like you said, even just the footage, like watching the World Series back when you played in it to watching the World Series now, and just the amount of games that are on, just the amount of cover, even just the quality of the film now, is,
I know.
It's so, you thought back then, wow, this is really cool. And now you're like, oh my God, I can touch them. They're right there.
Yeah, definitely. I think the quality of film and just like, I think some of the technology aspects of the game that have come into play, like, are really cool. Like exit velocity.
Yeah.
Speed at release versus speed at the plate. Spin rates. Route efficiency, all that sort of stuff is like the way sports have evolved has been really cool, and how softball's been able to leverage some of that in their training and on TV and via social media, and all of that has been great.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge, and it's just going to keep going. It's just going to keep getting bigger. So we just have to keep fighting the good fight,
That's right. Fight the good fight.
I love it. I had a question that I didn't realize I wanted to know until we started talking, but was there ever a point after you graduated or during any of this point that you ever thought, I think now's the time to hang them up? Have you ever thought that?
There was a time, yes. There was a time where I was like kind of, not so much that I was ready to hang it up, but I was actually I was like, you know what, I think I'm just going to go and I'm going to finish my career with Toyota.
Wow. Okay.
And I was just going to stop playing at an MPF at the time. And I was just kind of like, and not a lot of people knew this. And I was just like, I think it's just like, I don't know if I really want to continue on. Like, am I making an impact? Am I making a difference? Like, and also just questions about like, I'm getting older. Like, I'm at that point, I've already been playing like eight years of literally 9-month seasons.
Right.
Because I was playing in Japan in the spring and the US in the summer, and then went back to Japan in the fall. Being a professional in that way, which was awesome, but was it starting to take a toll on me? And actually,
wow,
I was going to do that.
Wow.
And then I got offered to play for the Scrapyard Dogs for $1 million.
There you go.
So I went there. I said, I gotta do it. I gotta do it. I can't say no.
And I
can't there is a chance for impact. You can't have the things aligned, and it ended up fitting. So
that is so crazy, because number one, when you just look at it, $1 million deal, you think that's incredible, right? That's big, the biggest thing to happen, right, ever. And the fact that it was on the cusp of you feeling like maybe this is it makes it even crazier that it came at what a time for it to happen, Yeah,
I mean, it was like 2015. The Chicago Bandits had won the championship. Things were going really well. I was pitching really well too, but I was just more concerned, like, what growth am I seeing in the sport? Like, am I having, like what I was saying, like, am I having an impact? Is there making a difference? And what am I doing wrong? Like, like, people are leaving, sponsors are leaving this sport. Like, how can I help this? Like, people are only playing 2 years, like kids out of college are playing 2 years and retiring. Like, how can we keep people in the game longer? Who knows what's going to happen with the Olympics, all of this sort of stuff. So I had a lot of like questions and thoughts about like, oh, maybe it's time for me to just like shift my focus kind of.
Wow.
But then like, and then like right at the kind of the beginning of the women's movement, the scrapyard came along, and really unexpected to have those conversations, but it was just like, whoa, like maybe I am doing it. It kind of like gave me validation. Maybe I am doing the right thing. Maybe I am actually making an impact to have someone be so inspired by my career this far and what I've been able to do as a professional. Maybe I am doing something right.
Yeah. Wow. That is exactly like, when you look at it that way, is total validation, because that was the deal heard around the world, that so many people not involved in softball knew about it, which I think is the big thing. Everybody in the softball world knows everything about the softball world.
Right.
It's the people that aren't in it, that only know maybe Jenny Finch from the Celebrity All-Star Game, or that, or Jess, because she does baseball. So that right there is an active player. Everybody is hearing about this. That means that not only were you doing the right thing, but it was much bigger than you probably even thought about. And that, what an impact. And now, that was the same year you signed, that was the same year softball got back in the Olympics.
Yeah, so softball got back into the Olympics. I had tears. I was just like crying. Like,
I have goosebumps.
There is I love you, softball god. Like literally, like things started to turn around, and I just felt like with that contract, if there wasn't a way that I could say no to it because of the standards and beliefs that I had been preaching for up to, the 8 years prior in my professional career, every clinic, event, appearance, high school speech, all of these things. I have a scholarship like for young female athletes that going on to college, and just promoting female leadership and all of those things, and not being afraid to be the first person to open the door so that other people could have an opportunity to have that conversation. So I signed, and I went to the scrapyard, and I've been in there ever since.
Yeah, gosh. I'm so glad that I asked that question, because I wasn't expecting that answer in any form at all. But you think about having those thoughts as you're ending the 2015 season, and we're sitting here in 2020, and you're still slinging it. You're going to go for another Olympic medal next.
Yeah.
Ideally, it was almost soon, but here we are.
Yeah, it almost like revived me a little bit. Wow. In my passion a little, in 2015 we had I'd been with the Bandits for a while, and we had a really good core group, and I knew that there was about 3 of them that were getting ready to retire, that we had stayed together for almost 5 years.
Wow.
And we were like that core group, and and we were all kind of thinking the same thing. And
yeah, wow, God, that is crazy to think about, or that you could have just been like, all right, thanks.
Yeah, the game within the game, you don't really think about those kind of thoughts and decisions. You don't hear about those stories.
Yeah.
When you're just talking about wins and games and stuff.
Right. Yeah. Cause that's all you see is, player performing, and then, oh, they're done, or whatever. It's never, there's so, especially, I don't know about you, but I think about the part of me being a female, and I think if I want to have babies one day, or if I want to have even the thought of getting married was kind of scary, because I'm like, wait, do I have to then go home and be a wife and stop playing? Like, what's the goal?
Like, what's the model? What's the model, right? Like, there's no one. What's the model? Like, there's not a lot of women that do it. So now we're in this new territory of people starting to be married and play and still have a professional softball career, which is incredible. Like, finally, yes, you can be married and still play softball,
Exactly. I think that you're spot on about the model, because I think about looking, when I first started out of college and thinking about, well, I can do this for a little bit or whatever, but eventually I like the other side of life is going to come knocking. But now I'm sitting here like the other side of life already knocked. I answered the door and I'm, like,
yes, you did answer the door. Yes, you did. It was a good answer. You said yes.
Yes. And I think I love that, I see, you're engaged now to be married. Yes. Very exciting. But, and then you've got girls like Kaylani Ricketts is married. Kirsty Merritt was playing when she was married. There's a lot of different things that are happening where we didn't really see that before as much. Mm-hmm. But it's I think it's opening the doors of, especially for females, like you talk so much about female empowerment and being a strong woman, and I think it's going to be nice for people to think about having their own career in a sport as well as a life outside of it too, a husband, a wife, maybe a kid. I don't know about that. I don't want any, but
yeah. I mean, who says to say like you can't have a child and then come back and play the next year? Like, who says that's not an option? That's been done here sporadically, like throughout the years, but not on a consistent basis. But I'm just like, I'm excited and glad that those opportunities, and it's not becoming like, oh, like you got married, or oh, now you're not going to play, I'm just going to retire. Like, just continuing being a professional. And I think part of that is that like people are playing longer now, like careers are being extended, and that shows validation for the professional world. It shows validation for athletes being able to make enough money to find ways to continue playing. Obviously, it's still not where we want it. We know that, the unknown pro, right? Exactly. It's still not where we want it to be. We know that, but it shows that we're moving in the right direction, because now our careers and your name recognition, your brand recognition, because you are playing more than 2 years professionally, is getting out there. So I think that's a big difference.
Yeah, gosh. It makes me like, it gives me a fire in my belly to just keep on keeping on,
Yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good.
Yeah, back at you, my friend. But it's just, there's just so much about this sport that we've learned because we've played so long. But I have a question that whenever somebody asks me a question like this, I think it's really hard, and I feel bad that I'm about to do this. Uh-oh. But it's a one word answer kind of question. It like over your career, if you could pick one word to describe like what's driven you to play this long and to maintain your level of being elite, what would that word be? It's such a hard question. I hate myself for doing this to you.
One word that describes like why I've continued I think opportunity is like the first word that jumps into my head. Cool. And just kind of like running with each opportunity as it's come. Wow. And also not only that, and this is for probably everyone else that feels like they're an unknown pro in whatever their career is just like at some point creating opportunities when they're not there.
Wow. That was a rock solid answer. Because I mean, before we started this episode, you and I were talking about getting out of your comfort zone a little, and sometimes opportunities show. I'm sure in 2009, the opportunity to go to Japan made you feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit out of
my gosh,
like
100%.
Maybe a lot more than a little bit, and you did it. And look at what you've been able to do over there, and it added to what you can do here.
It added to what I could do there. But I think what's really cool is when I went over there, it was kind of like, I almost would say like it was a little bit of taboo to play in Japan.
Oh, really?
It wasn't really like accepted as well and there was less opportunities for people to play. So since I've been over there, and Smitty played there before me, and there was some other Americans that had been in and out on some teams, but it wasn't as well I don't know, as well known, the Japan League, or that people wanted to play over there until I'd been over there for a while. And then now, like, everyone wants to play there. You've played there yourself.
Yeah.
people that I thought never would have played there are playing there now. And just now it's like an exciting opportunity, and people are looking at it as like, how can I get myself to Japan? How can I continue playing?
So true.
So, and that kind of growth and opportunity, more teams are taking foreigners over there than they ever have. And yeah, it's just cool to see that growth as well, which is a whole nother subject, but.
Right. But like at the root of it is that it was an opportunity that you had, and you took it, and you continued to take it, you know, because obviously they kept asking you back, and you had to say yes.
Yeah, I was like, yes, I'll do it.
Let's go.
Pick me.
Please.
You see my hand?
Like, I know you can, because it's very tall. Okay, it's up here. But that I mean, it's all. I love that answer, because it's about saying yes to opportunities, and you know, and then creating your own. Something I feel like I've learned over, you know, the years of aging is you really don't know what you can have or what you can get until you ask.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to ask.
Yeah.
You have to have a conversation about it, and sometimes it's uncomfortable for you.
Right.
But I mean, even for you, I mean, I think like, you know, opportunity throughout your career, obviously, you know, you were in Akron, you played with the Scrapyard, you signed with the Commotion, like you've had an opportunity, you know, on the USA team at one point, overseas at one point, you've had all these opportunities, and now I'm just so proud of you for starting this podcast. Like, people have been in your ear about it for a while, but now like you've created this opportunity, and the sky's the limit. So I'm just so proud that you took initiative to do this, and you're creating something from scratch. It's cool. It's awesome.
Thanks, man. I mean, the part that's cool for me is being able to dig into the, you know, the different stories that are out there that you just don't know. And like, you know, for people, for a pitcher to watch you pitch and think, you know, God, she's throwing 100 miles an hour, you know, like, might not be relatable to a pitcher, but listening to what you've been through and listening to what you have gone through and the decisions that you've had to make, that's the part that could be more relatable to, you know what I mean, to a player who, well, you know, obviously Monica didn't start off throwing 70. She got to this point, and maybe I just like the idea of being relatable. And I think that there's so many good stories out there that we don't hear about all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially, gosh, it's like what we just learned about your 2015 to 2016 thought process. I never, ever would have guessed, because all you see is the shiny headline, and you don't see that before that. It was like, you know what, I'm feeling like maybe this is the wrapping it up kind of time, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you have to think like 2015, like I'm thinking about that going into the season, like April, May, June, July, and then talking with the Scrapyard. It's not like they were talking to me in July. They didn't talk to me until back, you know, January or whatever it was. I don't even remember. I think it was January or February.
Yeah.
You know, that following year. So it was just like a long period of time where I was like, okay, like I think, you know, I'm ready to kind of see what else I can do, and maybe my focus is shifting. But I think things come and go for a reason, and doors open for a reason, and opportunities present themselves when the timing is right. And that was one that I definitely thought long and hard about, and discussed a lot with my family and my inner circle about. And in the end, I think I made the right decision.
I think so too.
Pretty positive I made the right decision.
I think, you know, because then I think about when the very first time I faced you was with Scrapyard, and I swung 3 times and I walked back to the dugout, you know, so it was very memorable for me as well. But no, I mean, I'm so happy that we were able to do this, because you know, the way that you speak about the game, it makes me so happy, you know, like, and watching, you know, watching you play from the batter's box, not so happy feeling, but from, you know, from when, you know, coming out and watching USA while you guys were on tour, and just the way that you are around the game, it just makes me very happy to see, because it's fun, you know, you're doing what you enjoy. If you didn't enjoy it and you didn't have fun doing it, you wouldn't have been doing it for this long.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I'm glad. And just again, like, I'm so excited for you and just fully support this. Everybody subscribe to this podcast, okay? Like, and share it, please. Tell a couple friends and tell someone that's not in softball so that they can listen, but that's a sports fan.
Right.
That's your homework from Monica, listeners. So, you know, share as much as you can, and just, we're so proud to support you and that you're doing this. So
thanks, Monica. This is so nice. I'm just, I hope I can see you in person soon. But I mean, on that note, I think that we can wrap up another great episode of The Unknown Pro. And I'm thank you so much for your time. Thank you for what you do for the sport and what you do for women. You know, it's obviously in the softball world, but as a female athlete in general, you know, like we said, we're fighting the good fight and we're doing what we want to do so that the next generation of whatever athletes that come through think that they can do anything, you know. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. All right. Until next time, my friends.